The NBA playoffs are here. The things the Orlando Magic must do to make this a successful series one way or the other. We'll get to it today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is April 18th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com and a credentialed member of the media here covering the Orlando Magic since 2010. You can, of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the big points to watch as the Orlando Magic get set to face the Boston Celtics. What's going to decide this series on the very basic granular level, and what will make a successful series for the Orlando Magic? We're going to get to all that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic Daily Newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic Newsletter. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at MonarchMoney.com for 50% off your first year. There's no getting around this. I'm not going to beat around the bush on this. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to present false hope where maybe there isn't any. This is going to be a difficult series for the Orlando Magic. I haven't done very many playoff series since we started Locked On Magic. But in series, there's usually a dominant team that can do more things and a team that has to play better to win the series. And the Boston Celtics, if you listened to our episode yesterday with John Corrales of Locked On Celtics, the Boston Celtics are a real big challenge. They're a really big challenge. And while it is strength on strength, it is the number 2 defense in the league taking on the number 2 offense in the league. And the Magic's defense is going to give them a chance. The Celtics are not exiting this series for however long it lasts without a few battle scars. They are going to get hit. They are going to get bruised. They are going to be in some trouble. The Magic will have their opportunities to win. But the Magic have to do more. And we're going to get to where the offense has improved and some of that here in a minute. But we cannot talk about this series. And we kind of beat around the bush on this yesterday, and it just deserves to be fleshed out more clearly and more cleanly. The Orlando Magic have to battle the three-point line. This series is going to be all about three-point shooting. It's going to be all about whether the Magic can contain and control the three-point shooting, whether they can make enough threes or anything. It's going to come down to that. This is a basic math problem. And we'll come on here, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about how the Magic are doing defensively or whether the Magic are giving up the kind of threes they want to give up. The Celtics are going to get their threes up. The Magic, though, have given up 2 of the 5 lowest three-point field goal attempt games for the Celtics this season. The Celtics shoot 48 threes per game. The Magic lead the league, giving up the fewest three-point attempts per game. There's going to be some push and pull. The Celtics are going to get their threes up. The question is, are the Magic going to force enough misses, contest those threes enough? And are the Magic going to be able to keep up with the three-point shooting themselves? We could break down so many things about this series. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to that basic math problem. It's going to come down to whether the Celtics make 10 more threes than the Magic or just 5. And even just 5 may not be enough for the Magic to survive. This is the problem everybody has with Boston. This isn't just an Orlando issue, but it's a bigger issue for Orlando because they're not a good three-point shooting team. And so, yes, Paolo Banchero has to play well. Franz Wagner has to play well. The Magic have to make Jason Tatum's life hard. They have to switch and scheme and contest shots and make those shots tough. They have to limit turnovers. They have to limit those mistakes that create fast break opportunities. They have to avoid giving up threes in bunches. It all goes back to that one basic fact. This series is a math problem. It is. Can the Magic score enough twos and get to the foul line enough to counteract whatever the Celtics are going to do from three? Everything else is a problem that branches out from that. Orlando's defense is capable. It just bears repeating. Orlando's defense is very capable of doing this, of giving themselves a chance. They've done it over and over and over again. The fewest threes the Celtics have taken in a game this season was the win last week against Boston, which doesn't count. The Celtics won a game shooting 17 for 37 from three. 37 was the fifth fewest threes the Celtics have taken in a game this season. They won that game. They made 17. Orlando cannot survive if Boston makes 17 threes. It's really simple. And so while Orlando can't sell out on preventing threes because you don't want to give up points in the paint, you don't want to give up offensive rebounds, you got to lock down, you got to limit Boston to one shot. You got to limit Boston to one shot. You got to create turnovers where you can. You got to be really strong individually on defense. This is the kind of team and the kind of offense that stresses a Magic defense. Orlando's defense can struggle against 5-out teams. They struggle against teams with overpowering bigs. We saw that against Houston, for instance. You see it a little bit with Rudy Gobert with the Wolves, although Orlando tends to play Minnesota a little bit better. Boston doesn't have an overwhelming big. Like Wendell Carter will be able to, as best he can, handle Kristaps Porzingis. Jonathan Isaac will take a turn on Kristaps Porzingis. That issue will not be an issue. The Magic need to win the rebounding battle. So again, we're going to draw these battle lines. It's all the four factors: effective field goal percentage, turnover rate, free throw rate. The Magic got to win all four. They probably can't get away with winning just three of the four. They got to win all four. They got to win that possession battle, as Jamal Mosley likes to say. But at the end of the day, they could win a lot of those battles, and it won't matter. This is how I see this series going. Boston's going to have a game where they win by 30, or they win by 20 plus. There's just going to be a game where Boston gets hot from three, and that's that. And again, there's nothing the Magic can do about that. As long as you just hope that they stay connected defensively enough to limit that damage or limit what that game looks like. But there's a game where Boston hits threes and Orlando cannot win that game. If Orlando wins a game where Boston shoots 40% from three, that's stealing a game. There's going to be a game where the Magic make threes. And the Magic must win that game. If Orlando shoots 40% from three, if they make 15 threes in a game, that has to be a win. Now, that could be a close game. I think there will be a close game that determines whether this is a 5 or 6 game series. I think there will be a close game that determines the length of this series. Orlando wins that game, they're in good shape. Orlando loses that game, things will get in trouble. I think Orlando's going to get a game. I think they're too good not to get a game in this series. Jamal Mosley is too good of a coach. He showed us in the playoffs that he will make adjustments and make changes as the series goes on. I am confident in the Magic getting a game, if not 2 games. But having said that, there's work to do. A lot of work to do. It's an uphill climb. The Magic, there's going to be a game where the Celtics struggle to shoot, where the Celtics maybe shoot low 30s from three. Now, again, low 30s from three for the Celtics could still mean 14, 15 threes because they take so many. But the Magic have to win that game too. Now, it could be the Magic have a really good shooting night. The Celtics have a really bad shooting night. They win a game running away. Kia Center crowd goes home happy. It might be that game. It might be one game. But there's going to be a game where the three-point shots don't go in for the Celtics. They go in for the Magic. That's a game the Magic have to win. But you can see the issue. And we're going to talk more about the thing we're not talking about here in a minute. The issue is the Magic are climbing uphill. It's the Magic that are relying on some variance from Boston. It's the Magic that feel like they have to play perfectly. Boston can have a bad game. Boston could have their bad shooting game. I'm not 100% certain the Magic win that game. That's a problem. And again, none of this should be surprising. Orlando is the 7 seed for a reason. We're entering this offseason gearing up for some major changes and gearing up for a roster, not a roster overhaul, but the Magic looking to make some investments in their roster. We know that this is the problem. And again, like I said yesterday and wrote in the newsletter yesterday, this is a measuring stick for Orlando. This is to tell us how close the Magic really are to where they want to be. And that's where Boston is right now. But this series, it's going to be so much about three-point shooting. Because if the Magic are loose on the three-point line, if the Magic are not able to defend the three, they don't have a chance. It just plain and simple. They don't have a chance. And that's ignoring the other elephant in the room. Because while I think rightly everyone is concerned about the three-point shooting problem, it's the other issue that I think could swing this series even more. Why the Orlando Magic's offense might actually be the key to this whole thing. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who has delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates are there for you to choose from. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Maybe this is all part of the same piece. Maybe the point I'm about to make is the same side of the coin or different side of the coin or the flip side of the coin. I am very confident that the Orlando Magic will break even at minimum in a half-court game against the Celtics. If the Magic can slow the pace down, and Boston's comfortable playing slow too, if they can limit possessions, get the Celtics playing against set defense, I am confident the Magic will have a chance to win just about every game they play. Regardless of the three-point shooting, regardless of anything else, honestly, I'm not that worried about Boston getting too many threes in the half court. If this is a half court series, if this is half court offense versus half court defense, give me that coin flip. I like the Magic's chances. And so it is, frankly, for all the attention that I think everybody wants to put on the three-point shooting discrepancy and what Boston can do shooting threes, a lot of this series, I think, is going to depend on the Magic's offense. If you listened to our podcast yesterday, I believe John Krause mentioned this. If he didn't, he talked to me offline about this. Joe Mazzulla likes to say that, like, offense doesn't exist in a vacuum. Offense and defense, it's not like football where, and even in football, they don't exist in a vacuum. It's not like you sub in new guys when offense and defense come. They flow with each other. They move with each other. Why is Boston so good offensively? Why is their three-point shooting so devastating? It's because they catch teams before they get set. They catch teams while they're disorganized, while they're losing people, while they're losing track of players. And that gets them downhill to the basket. That gets them the open threes they need. This series, as much as it is about three-point shooting, and it is, again, that's going to be a huge determinant in this game. Orlando could play great and shoot poorly from three and lose. This series is going to come down to how the Magic attack the Celtics defense. Because while there is so much talk about the Celtics three-point volume and all of their shooting struggle and all of their shooting, Boston's defense is really good too. Like really, really good. Boston was second in the league at offensive rating, scoring 119.5 points per 100 possessions. Like, again, Orlando is not touching that. They were also fourth in the league, giving up 110.1 points per 100 possessions. Orlando's second at 109-ish, 108, 109. Boston's defense is also elite. It's elite in a different way. They're good at defending the rim. They collapse really well. They have switchable guards. Drew Holiday might be small, but he is tough to move. You don't post that guy up. Derek White is a good defender. Jason Tatum's a solid defender. Jaylen Brown's a solid defender. They're comfortable switching 1 through 5 and bottling you up that way, forcing tough shots, and then getting out and running. The Celtics are not going to force a ton of turnovers. They're not going to foul a lot. They're going to defend shots at the rim. They're just going to contest shots. They make it hard to get open shots. And obviously, Orlando's offense isn't that. Orlando's offense relies a lot on isolation and one-on-one play. And so they're going to need, obviously, Paolo and Franz to really play well and give them the chance. But they're going to need to make shots. They're going to need to limit turnovers and mistakes. They're going to need to limit those long rebounds. They're going to need to crash the offensive glass. They're going to need to do everything they can to keep this a half-court game. Run when they can, steal points when they can, but they cannot let Boston use their defense to power the offense. That is their superpower. That is the thing I fear. More than the three-point shooting, it's transition threes. Because that's how the Celtics turn a 5-point game, a 5-point lead, into a 15-point lead, into a 20-point lead. And even though Orlando's offense is markedly improved, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a moment, even though Orlando's offense is significantly improved, the Magic still go through these deep lulls. They did it in the third quarter when they scored 18 points in the third quarter against the Hawks, one of the worst defense in the postseason. The Magic gave away a 22-point lead in the third quarter because they couldn't score. And Jamal Mosley kind of threw his hands up after the game and said, I have to look at the tape, but missed a lot of open shots. I can tell you why they didn't score in those minutes, because they were too slow getting into their sets. They were trying to force the ball to Paolo instead of moving into the second and third side. They weren't moving the ball. They were stagnating and slowing things down. They've got to move. They've got to move. If it's not there, if that initial look isn't there, move to the next side, bring Paolo to that side, get him the ball in motion, set him up in a new spot, change the angle. The decisions have to be quicker. They have to move quicker. They got to keep Boston on their toes, because if Boston's allowed to settle in, the Magic are in trouble. Just plain and simple. The Magic are in trouble. Now, look, Orlando's offense is playing significantly better than their numbers would suggest. Since they started turning around the season with that road trip, Orlando has a 113.6 offensive rating. That's still 21st in the league since March 8th, but we'll take it. They're shooting 36.2% from the three, 17th in the league. But again, when the Magic shoot 36% from three, they're like 17-4 or something like that, or 18-4, 18-5, something like that. Orlando has scored against some good defenses too. They scored 111 against Minnesota in a loss, 108 against Cleveland, 108 against Houston. Those are all top 10 defenses. But this is the concern. Can the Magic sustain that kind of offense? It's going to take 110 points to win games in this series. And here's the bad news. The Magic's worst games during that 12-6 run, all against top defenses. 84 points in the loss to the Houston Rockets on the road. 87 in a loss to the LA Clippers. And yes, even in a 20-point win 97 against the Boston Celtics. The Magic are still due for offensive duds. They are still due for games where the shots just won't fall. So my big concern entering the Atlanta game actually was just saying, like, look, Orlando should win this game, but their shooting is so inconsistent and unreliable. They could have one of those games. They could have a bad night. And Orlando can struggle against Boston. Now, again, we're not going to learn much from the 3 games the Magic played against the Celtics this season. The first one came, Jason Tatum was out for Boston. Franz and Paolo were both out. Orlando erased a 17-point deficit. You know, Boston took, at the time, was their fewest threes of the season. At that point, I think it was their first game taking fewer than 40 threes in a game. Tristan De Silva hit a huge shot. Orlando won the game. Big win, huge win at the time. Really felt like a really great win, even with the guys Boston had out. In January, the game the Celtics won in a blowout that was not as close as the final score indicated. Paolo was just coming back. I think it was his first week back. Franz was still out. Jalen Suggs was out at the time. Again, we're not going to learn very much. And then, of course, the game last week. No, we're not learning anything from that. That game, Celtics sat all their starters. The Magic kind of understood that they did enough to win. Like even the 97 points the Magic scored, I'm not losing sleep over that. It was a game where the Magic did the job, didn't treat it any more seriously than they had to. So we're not going to learn very much. But here's something else to consider. In 9 career games against the Celtics, Banchero averages only 22.9 points per game. Now, shooting a more better than 40% again, and from 3 against the Celtics, but only 22.9 points per game. I was surprised it was that low. Franz Wagner, in 11 games with the Celtics in his career, averages only 14.5 points per game. This is, again, a credit to the Celtics defense. Now, Orlando's had good games against Celtics. Boston has not won in Orlando since Paolo's second career game or third career game, first career home game. The Magic match up as well with Boston as any team, so long as they're scoring, so long as they're making shots. And the Magic's offense is better than it has been. They're playing their best basketball of the season right now. But everything is centered on whether the Magic can score. If Orlando can score, protect the ball, limit turnovers, attack the offensive glass, win those possession battles, they have a chance. They really do. They have a chance. Their defense is good enough if the offense gives it a chance. But that's the thing. Against an elite defense like Boston's, can you count on the Magic getting it 4 times? Again, I'm not here to be doom and gloom. I'm not here to put a fork in the Magic before the series even begins. But it's going to be a big uphill climb. And that begs the question, what is a successful series? What the Magic must accomplish in this series, we're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you use Monarch, they categorize everything so you can find out just how much you're spending on food delivery so you can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Again, I don't want to be doom and gloom here. I want to be real. I want to give the reality. I want to give my unvarnished take here. This is going to be a tough series for the Magic. I mentioned this a little bit yesterday. this is a measuring stick series for Orlando. This is Orlando seeing just how far they are from the contending class. I think we could all agree. I think we could all look at this and say Orlando's not in the same tier as Cleveland and Boston. Yeah, they beat Cleveland on that one game. Cleveland had a bad shooting night. They took advantage of it. That's what they should do. Yeah, they beat Cleveland that one game. Cleveland also beat them by 40. Even New York, the Magic feel like they're still a cut below New York. Maybe they're in that same group when they're healthy. But we've all sensed, we've all been frustrated. Everybody surrounding the Magic has been frustrated with this season. And everybody, including the players, quite frankly, Wendell Carter has mentioned it several times over the last month or so. Everybody is expecting the Magic to make some changes, make some tweaks, to try and find a way to improve this roster. And look, we're going to go into all that when we get to the offseason. I'm teeing it up. We all know it's there. It's a storyline that exists. It's just, how much of an overhaul do the Magic need? How much do the Magic have to rebuild or retool or add to this roster? They clearly need to. But where and how much is the question? That's part of what we're going to learn in this series. Everything for the Magic has been building toward the playoffs. Everything. The whole season has been about this moment. Seeing how this team has grown year over year, how this team has gotten better, how this team may be getting worse, where their flaws are, and what they have to address. I said this a million times in the run-up to last year's playoffs. I didn't say it nearly enough this year. Your flaws get exposed in the playoffs. Everything that is wrong with you gets exposed in the playoffs. And yeah, Jeff Weltman failed to address one of the big needs that was clear after the Magic lost to the Cavs, that they needed a third attacker to help ease the burden for Paolo and Franz, to help them get easy shots. Every shot for Paolo and Franz is hard. And that's going to be the same case this season, this series. So what makes a successful series? Like what is success besides winning? Winning would be nice. Win the series. That'd be great. I don't think it's impossible for Orlando to win this series. It's just going to be very, very hard. Don't get swept. That goes without saying. I'd like to see a strong 5-game series, 5 close games if possible. 6, if you could get this to 6, that to me, that as a 7 seed especially, that would be a huge victory. Again, I only get blown out once, like just from a result standpoint. That's kind of where I'm at with this series. Make every game competitive. Make Boston say what they said about Indiana, even though they swept the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Boston said Indiana was their toughest series. They challenged them the most. Their offense was really difficult to deal with. Be that team. Be the team Boston goes like, that Orlando series took a lot out of us or made us, sharpened us for whatever run they're about to make. A successful series to me, though, is really about clarity. I want to see Paolo Banchero copy what he did in last year's playoffs. He averaged 27 points per game. I want confirmation that playoff Paolo is a real thing. And it wasn't just a product of the matchup against the Cavs. That in big games, and we've seen in big games, Paolo Banchero step up. I know he didn't play great in Tuesday game. He did, even though he didn't score or shoot well in Tuesday's game, he imposed himself on that game. I did not think Paolo played poorly in Tuesday's game. I want to see Paolo Banchero be playoff Paolo. I want to see Franz Wagner get redemption from last year. People wrote Franz Wagner off for a poor playoffs and especially that poor game 7. And all of us who watch were like, they don't win game 6 or game 4 without him. He probably should have made that layup in game 5 or gone up with his left-handed game 5. But Franz looked fine in his first playoff series. Franz needs to step up. And the Magic need to exit this playoff series fully confirmed, fully knowing we have 2 all-stars, not just regular season all-stars. We have 2 playoff performers that we can build around. So Paolo copying what he did last year, Franz stepping up in his game in his second playoff series. I think those are the 2 primary things we need to see. And if the Magic exit this playoff series with Paolo averaging 30 points per game and Franz up at 25 points per game, if the Magic exit this series getting nearly 60 points per game from their 2 all-stars, that tells us the hard part is over. We got the stars that can beat a good defense in the playoffs. It's now about surrounding those stars with the personnel and the roster that they need. A successful series is, even if they lose, getting better as the series goes on. Look, I don't want to see any blowouts. I'm expecting there to be a blowout at some point in the series. Get eliminated in a heartbreaker. Like, that's fine. I can live with it. It'll suck, but you can live with that. I want to see the Magic get better as the series goes on. And that's a statement to Jamal Mosley. We'll talk about Jamal Mosley after the season ends. There's a lot to say. I talked about him a little bit last week when I was in Indianapolis, if you can get through the terrible audio on that podcast because of my terrible internet. Jamal Mosley, there's a lot of question about whether Jamal Mosley can be a playoff coach. And look, I thought he did fine in the playoffs last year. Overthought some things early in the series, got better as the series went on. This is his second playoff series. I'm expecting him to have some tricks up his sleeve, to have this team ready, prepared, and to have this team playing at a high level. They're playing really well right now. He's going to deploy some things that we're not expecting to match up with this team and the Celtics team. I don't want to lose a game because of Jamal Mosley. I don't think the Magic lost any games last year because of Jamal Mosley. The Joe Ingles thing, the Cole Anthony thing was a little bit. This roster is going to be a little bit restricted. He's going to have to take some risks that I think a lot of people will disagree with. It is what it is. I think this series needs to be a showcase of the Magic stars and their coach. A successful series is the Magic exiting saying, our core is good enough to compete with the Boston Celtics. Our core is good enough to be a championship level core. And all we got to do is pick the right role players to be around these guys. If that's where we're exiting this series, then the Magic are set up to be that team in the next 2 or 3 years, to be championship contenders in the next 2 or 3 years. I mentioned this at the top of the show yesterday. This is a measuring stick. This is a chance for the Magic to see just how close they are to a team like Boston, a team that they're going to have to beat in a playoff series at some point. That's the challenge. That's the test. And they're not going to, in all likelihood, they're not going to pass that test. They're going to take some playoff lumps, and that's okay. Don't panic over a playoff loss, especially in a season like this when you're down so many key players. Playoff losses teach you a lot. You could certainly argue the Magic did not learn key lessons from last year's playoff loss. They expected players to get better. A lot of them did. Some of them didn't. And they left some key needs unaddressed. Those needs will be front and center once again. I anticipate that Corey Joseph will start. I anticipate that Corey Joseph will have a quick hook. He is the weak link on this defense. Teams are going to target him. They're going to target Cole Anthony when he's out there. The Magic don't have a lot of options. There is a roster problem. There is a personnel problem that will keep the Magic from competing against the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme. A successful series, though, is the Magic exiting this series proud of what they did, proud of how they fought, but also firmly established, firmly confident in their entire core. Their 2 stars, their coach, and the philosophy that they have moving forward. That all they need to do is find the right role players, bet on the right young players to improve, to push them to the next level. Game 1 again is Sunday at TD Garden. I'll be heading up to Boston. We will see you in Beantown. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all family style podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can find us as well on YouTube. Search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. As if all that's not enough, you can check out the Locked On Magic daily newsletter. It's your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage from around the league. You get an original piece from me as well as some national perspective as well. It is a great way to start your day. And if you subscribe now, if you subscribe today, you'll be entered to win one of these three amazing prizes: a $2,500 Best Buy gift card to upgrade your sports cave setup, a $300 Game Time gift card to get you to the big game, or a $200 Fanatics gift card to dress appropriately for said game. It's easy and free to enter. Simply subscribe between now and April 30th to be automatically entered to win. Don't miss a moment of the playoff run. Join the Locked On Magic newsletter today and experience the playoffs like never before. Subscribe today and enter to win by clicking the link in the description or by going to LockedOnDaily.com. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back Sunday evening to recap the Magic's game against the Boston Celtics. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.